Many people dream of becoming a professional athlete. In an article, 33 Pros and Cons of Being a Professional Athlete, there's an extensive list for anyone who wants a career in sports. Tonight, we talk to a former professional athlete whose mission is to encourage up-and-coming athletes and bring awareness of the pitfalls associated with this journey. I'm so happy you're joining us.
From Los Angeles, this is KLCS PBS. Welcome to Everybody with Angela Williamson, an innovation, arts, education, and public affairs program. Everybody with Angela Williamson is made possible by viewers like you. Thank you. And now your host, Dr. Angela Williamson.
I'm so excited. Quincy Carter is here with us. Thank you so much for being here. And you have this phenomenal program that I think it's driven from you for your personal mission. So talk a little bit about that.
Well, you know, I've always wanted to be a coach. That was my major in college. I've always wanted to inspire others, you know, honestly. And I've got the unique, you know, innate ability to be able to do that. And I've had a quarterback school since I would say about 2010. But you know, I did some things in my life, going to rehab, reestablishing my relationship with God first, and really came out front and center to establish my, you know, my quarterback school on another level, and which is kind of gravitated, kids to my program. So, you know, it's not always just about what's going on the field with my quarterbacks and me working with their fundamentals, having different camps in Georgia, Florida, and Tennessee. But I mentor a lot of youth too. You know, I had my own problems with drugs and alcohol. And it first started with weed. And we're sitting up telling these kids right now that weed is legal. But you know, the first question I ask these kids, what job can you get? A good job, all right?
Say good job.
A great job.
Yes.
Let's go with great job, with morals and ethics and integrity, all right, smoking weed. What job can you get? And not a single hand goes up, not a single answer, because you can't. And so we're sending these kids the wrong message, you know, that weed is legal. And it started with me with weed. And then once, you know, I got cut with the Cowboys, and my life just unraveled. And the weed wasn't good enough anymore. The weed couldn't take away that pain. So then I graduated, I like to say, to some harder things. Yes, graduated.
Well, you mentioned being a mentor. So when that started happening to you and you were moving your life into a direction where you said it spiraled out of control, is it because you didn't have mentors, or did you have mentors and your life was already out of control? I mean, how important is that for someone that gets to your level of to a professional athlete?
You know, I had good men in my life. I had a Stephen Davenport and a Buck Godfrey growing up, which was my high school coaches.
Yes.
I had a Coach Donnan in my life when I was at the University of Georgia. So I had some pretty good mentors. But I got to be honest with you. Once my weed habit continued to, you know, take over my mind, and I started making bad decisions, well, you know, the chemicals start weeding the good people out of my life, because now I'm trying to be slick. Now I'm trying to hide from these guys. I'm not listening like, you know, I would have without smoking weed. So a lot of that contributed, you know, to me kind of giving a cold shoulder to my mentors, because I wasn't doing the right things in my life.
So how prevalent is the drug abuse at your level? Because when we see people at your level, you are at the best of your athletic ability. I mean, you're almost like gods in a way. I mean, we love our football here. And so, I mean, how difficult is that for you when you're at that level to say no when it's right there in front of you?
Well, unfortunately, I don't think we realize at that age of us just having some recreational fun. That recreational fun goes to, okay, I got some pain, I got some worries now, and so I know what can take that away. And in college, it's just recreational for us, the guys I've been around, and what I've seen was been weed and alcohol. But that recreational fun turns into, you taking some pain away. Now the stakes are getting higher for you. Some anxiety. Guys are expecting more out of you now. But now you're hurt, and so now you're taking some pain away from maybe, some marijuana usage or some alcohol usage. But now you're getting all the brain injuries along with that now. And so now the chemicals and the brain injuries
Not enough.
work. Exactly, not enough, but now they're contrasting each other too, and you're not making great decisions. So now that weed and alcohol for a lot of guys turn into really bad habits, and really honestly turn into addiction, but you can't even see it that early, because to you, that's your coping mechanism. Some guys are good enough, like myself, and I'll admit it, to go out and do some things they shouldn't be doing during the week, leading up to a game, and still go out and perform. I never was at my best when I did that, but I was having success. So in my mind, you couldn't tell me different. But I was never the Quincy that I was called to be. I was never the Quincy that I was my third year in the NFL. I took my team to the playoffs with the Cowboys. I wasn't the Quincy that I was today. Can look somebody in the eye, don't have no shame.
Nothing to hide.
Nothing to hide, can be who God has called me to be. But if we're not educated enough, if we don't, see guys like myself that can tell this story and see, and show them what they may be going through, and then, have some solution for guys, I think it's a beautiful thing for me.
Well, and you mentioned a lot of great things in there. You talked about education and the importance of education, which I know that's what you're doing right now with your program, training those future quarterbacks. But you also, too, talked about solutions. And a lot of times what happens is people don't understand what solutions are out there. So when you are out there mentoring so many of these promising new quarterbacks, because you mentioned 5 schools. Did you mention 5 schools you have? You mentioned 5 schools. Are you able to see if they may be heading down a road that will impede them from their career, and then offer a solution to them?
Oh, absolutely. Yes, I can see it front and center. I can see the weed smokers right now. Yeah, really? Even my kids that are from 12 all the way through college. Yeah, I can see it. I can see when their performance is going up and down. I can see their focus. I can see guys who, who actually are going through some things at home, in their home life, but are we talking about it? Are we actually, all these young men expressing themselves in a positive manner? Are we setting an example for them, as coaches too, but we have to let these young men understand that there's someone there for them, that they can talk. All right, if it's not talking to me, can we get a counselor? Some of my guys, who's kind of reached that level of, hey, well, let's look at this big book of Alcoholics Anonymous. If we feel like it's further problems and we can't just do it without prayer, I grew up in the church.
And you still needed to find tools to help you get to where you're at today.
Absolutely. And honestly, God had fixed my life up so much, and then now I'm at a point where, I'm back down on my knees, and I'm like, I never disown God, but I'm like, God, if you're there for me, just show me. Well, the 12 steps of Alcoholics Anonymous, showed me how I can get back to my relationship with God, and that's in step 3, and that's giving my will over to God. So these are the type tools, you know. I'm a very faith-based, believe in God, prayer, meditation, but there are other tools out there like counseling, like the 12 steps, you know. And I've got a few books that I love that I throw out there for these kids. One is The Prayer of Jabez.
Oh,
God,
oh yes.
yes.
And it's such a tiny book. They can easily put that in their backpack.
Enlarge my territory. And it's not just about football, but enlarge and bright and live that life through you to show other people, you know, your love and your strength and your wisdom. Yeah, it's a deep book.
Which is important. I mean, because not only are you strengthening those skills, but you're giving them other skills to help them in their journey that they can reach to when the pressure gets too much. Because I can't even imagine the pressure, not only of you being a professional athlete, but you being a quarterback on top of that. The pressure, I mean, it's hard for them to probably keep all of that inside without feeling they need some kind of outlet.
It is, but you know, there's outlets that are available for them that are positive. If you allow, you know, your coach to speak some life into you, if you allow, you know, for your teachers, you know, to breathe life into you. But these guys got to understand that, you know, that somebody's there for them. We understand what they're going through. We've been there. I don't like to, you know, say, you know, I've been there, and but at the same time, because you want to be humble.
Can help heal someone else.
Absolutely. You know, I try to come from a humble place, but hey, you know, I really truly believe that somebody's been there and been through the fire. It helps these young men. So man, I'm gonna continue to give back to them. Another book also is The Purpose-Driven Life. My guy Rick Warren that I threw out there.
Yes.
That's a deep book
and
too.
I've met him in person. He is amazing.
Okay,
he is so amazing.
Wow.
Yeah. Oh, you should reach out to him, meet him in person.
Wow. He started as a Celebrate Recovery too. Wow. Yeah, he's responsible for that too.
Well, you talked about solutions and skills, and you have expanded your mission to work with the organization that does that, especially focusing on athletes. So when we come back from our break, I would like to bring in the president of that organization, have you both talk to me a little bit about what you're doing. Is that okay?
Let's do it.
Okay. When we come back, Mandy Baker, President and Chief Clinical Officer of BRC Healthcare, will be here to discuss how she joined forces with Quincy to help athletes find recovery and holistic healing.
I want to eat apples and bananas. I need to eat apples and bananas. Why can't I eat apples and bananas?
Support the Feeding America nationwide network of food banks to help provide meals to those in need. Join us at feedingamerica.org.
Welcome back. Mandy and Quincy are here to discuss the BRC programs targeting athletes and entertainers. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you for having us.
How did you two meet?
Well, we met actually in the parking lot of BRC Recovery, right there on the ground. She was our clinical director. And when I say parking lot, it's because I was having a rough day and she was leaving work. And I just started venting to her, and that same smile you see right now, and just, you know, gentle soul, just sat there and listened. Now, you know, what position she's in now, I look back like, oh God, I was talking to my boss. But it was one of our days. It's one of my days I was having. You know, one of the best things at the time, you don't think that maybe every day, but you get into understanding why we do it, but having a lot of accountability groups, and we make you accountable. We're a community-based program, because you got to rely on your peers once you leave rehab. But I was having one of my days, and then Mandy was there to listen to me.
And I love how you said about accountability. I mean, is that all a part of everything that you do at BRC?
It is. It absolutely is, especially when we're talking about athletes and entertainers. You know, a lot of times what we find with people who have some level of fame or notoriety, or even just people who are legends in their own mind, so to speak, create around them a group of yes people, or an echo chamber. Yes. And I heard Quincy speaking on the first half of the show, and he was talking about we in addiction move the people that will tell us the truth out to the side, and we surround ourselves with co-signers, basically people who will go along with what's going on with us, because there's a secondary benefit to them a lot of the times. It's one of the hard things about dealing with people who, like Quincy, kind of come from a place of being well known and having a very public struggle. And so accountability runs all the way through our programs for everybody that we have the fortune of touching their lives for just a brief moment in time when they come to us for help.
Explain that. I love that.
Absolutely. Well, it's one of the things that we say. It's kind of part of the language of our culture at BRC. And when we say self can't see self, basically what we're just talking about is that it takes a village for anybody to get well. And this is one of the things that I think is important to talk about, and Quincy kind of talked about it so eloquently earlier about pain, emotional pain, physical pain, and we think that people can't see that. And a lot of times everybody's so busy that we don't take the time to sit down with one another and say, hey, how can I be helpful to you? What can I do to make your life a little bit easier or better today? We've moved away, I believe, in Western society to this individualistic rather than collectivistic culture, and the idea of I am my brother's keeper, I am my sister's keeper. We've kind of turned our heads on that, and we're suffering because of it. And so when we bring somebody into one of our programs, we really try to sit them down and say, hey, you are responsible for yourself, but you are also responsible for the person sitting on your left, the person sitting on your right, the person sitting across from you. We are all humans, and as a foundational framework of our humanity, we have to take responsibility for each other.
And how difficult is that to actually teach that and put that as part of a solution for athletes and entertainers? Because there's a different mindset there. You don't get to the peak of excellence without having a different mindset. So how do you do that?
Yeah, and I love that you use the word mindset, because mindset, in fact, is the name of the program that we are modeling.
Look at that.
Yeah, absolutely. In conjunction with several individuals who have come to the table with helping us there, from the Players Association that helped us to treat Quincy, to some other professional athletes who are joining our advisory board and helping us to really talk about those issues openly and honestly. What does it mean to have to kind of pause or in Quincy's case, walk away from all of that? I heard a friend of mine describe a traumatic experience that happened to her not too long ago, and she said, there I was trying to hold everything so tightly, and to feel the sand slipping through my fingers was almost unbearable. And I won't speak for Quincy as to what that experience was like for him, but I think probably that day we met in the parking lot, that anger about losing that, and really having to understand that from this day forward, my life is going to be different. That's a scary proposition.
One thing about us athletes, some of our best coaches, are the ones who will look us in the eyes and tell us the truth. And be the hardest on us. So we respond to that. I've been to a couple, cookie cutter rehabs that we're not getting down to the solution. And we're just showing face and going through a few steps and then getting guys out of there. But now we're going through the steps. We're getting through step 4 and 5, which one I think so all of them are important, but the real critical meat and potatoes 2 steps where you're getting your resentments and fears and sex inventories and stuff like that you've been through, and then in step 5 really telling somebody. And then on an everyday basis, you know, having accountability groups and things of that nature. Our nutrition, we have a mindset program. We'll be tracking, you know, decisions that we made, that we're making on a daily basis and why we're making those. So it's so much to our, you know, program. But, you know, to really hear the truth is what kept resonating with me time and time after again, to have solutions for dealing with your pain, whether it's a higher power, whether it's living by spiritual principles, because there's a spiritual principle next to every step. So maybe if you don't so much believe in God, you still, you know, don't have the excuse of hanging on to that. We can give you some other solutions to get your peace and serenity and on to a good life. Ultimately, is what the goal is.
Well, and you mentioned so much in that statement. I mean, you talked about serenity and you talked about spirituality, where you may not necessarily, maybe you don't believe in God, but there's a spiritual force there to help you so that you don't feel that you're alone. But then you also talked about the other approaches too. You talked about nutrition and you talked about mindset. I mean, how important is that when you have to because now this is your life. It's your journey. How important are those other components to it?
Well, they're incredibly important, you know, and pick up any research journal that you would like, and it's going to talk about all kinds of different things. But what we know to be true about all human beings is that there is an optimal way that, you know, we are built to live, and one of those is, you know, to take care of our bodies, because our mind and our body is so incredibly interrelated. And if we can nourish the body, and a lot of times when people come to any of our programs, the body has taken the brunt of the abuse, whether that is a traumatic brain injury from a blunt force trauma or repeated concussions, whether it's, you know, encephalopathy caused by continued consumption of poison, really, in the long run. And so, you know, we really try in the very beginning to take a deep dive to find out what all is going on. Because, as Quincy talked about earlier, pain, you know, if I take you off all the things that you've been using to treat a knee injury or a back injury, and I don't help you rehab that, or I don't help you fix that, then I'm setting you up for failure, because nobody wants to live in pain.
Your pain gets so intense that the things you relied on before doesn't work, and so having to find an alternative is really important, because you still probably live in pain, because that's your entire career was in sports. Well, this time went by too fast.
I agree.
Before I end my conversation with both of you, if you could have one piece of legacy that you leave as part of this recovery program for the next generation of athletes, next generation of recovery specialists that come and work and do this type of work, what would it be?
It would be to educate yourself on all of the opportunities for treatment available, but never forget that people are people. Never look at them as a clinical specimen or something to have a theory of therapy tried upon them. First and foremost, like, talk to one another from the heart. Because I think that's what worked with us, you know, is that Quincy approached me in the parking lot and he said, "Hey, can I talk to you for a minute?" And there were a million different things I could have gone and done. And sometimes, I'm not perfect, sometimes I do say, "Hey, I gotta go," you know. But truthfully, in that moment, for whatever reason, I sat down and you know, it wasn't about your Quincy Carter, the Dallas Cowboys quarterback and former Georgia All-Star athlete and all that. It was just about, you know, here's a man standing in front of me that hurts. And so I'll be with him for a minute.
And see what's in his heart And I think that's important too, is looking at the person's heart.
Absolutely.
I love that.
Absolutely.
I love that. Okay, Quincy, close us out. What do you want your legacy to be?
I want to be able to, spread some wisdom and some strength around anybody who's hurting, mentally through their mental challenges and through also substance abuse. That guy that has started marijuana and going down that that slippery slope. The guy who has cost his career, has lost his family because of substance abuse and some mental health issues, and showing him how we can get back on our feet. The guy that don't have a dime in his pocket when he's coming to rehab, like myself, and that can still get back up on his feet no matter what. I want to be, that guy that people hear and that they know, all right, we can get back on our feet, and we've got it here. We got it here at BRC, and we put in everything we can, and with thanks, to Mandy and our team, we put in everything we can into helping athletes and entertainers, because we know we're not different from people, but the way we have to hide ours is way different than somebody else.
It's different.
Yeah.
Well, and I want to thank both of you for what you're doing. I mean, this is something that people have in this industry and also in sports. They've put under the rug, but the two of you are bringing this out and saying there's our solutions here, and we're here for you, and that you're using your journey to help future quarterbacks. I mean, you're already doing your legacy. So both of you, thank you so much for being here. And this is a topic that will be continuing. So hopefully you'll come back to California. We can continue this conversation.
Absolutely. Would love that.
Thank you.
God is good.
Thank you. And thank you for joining us on Everybody with Angela Williamson. Viewers like you make this show possible. Join us on social media to continue this conversation. Good night and stay well.